Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome back to another video on Gran Turismo Sport. Thank you for joining me for this one. We turn up to a new circuit. Well, it's new for me. I haven't really played this one ever, this exact configuration. And so yeah, Tokyo Expressway, Central Inner Loop. So we have played this circuit kind of in reverse on the other side of the carriageway. So there is a slight variation. You may recognise this circuit, you may well have played it. This is actually the first time I've ever played it, other than about 15 laps of practice before this qualifying session, which is about to come up here. So this is going to be our first proper flying lap. Let's have a look at the circuit. So of course, the Tokyo Expressway circuits, in a way, they're very kind of soulless. But you know what? The more and more I played this during practice, the more I enjoyed it. It really is a challenge to nail an entire lap, especially through the fast sweeping section at the end of the lap. And you've got this fast sweeping section here, so it's quite technical, very fast in places, and very unforgiving. You hit the wall, and well, you're normally going to lose a lot of time, like I just do there. You're going to easily lose a couple of temps, lots of momentum, and in the race, you're going to lose a couple of positions. Once you're out of that train, there's no way getting back in, and everyone's going to go flying past you. This is where the track kind of varies from the other configurations. So you're going to go up here, flying, sweeping to the left, and again just grazing the wall as you're going through the penalty zone, which is there. So that's going to be the land of ultimate carnage during the race, presumably, as everyone goes slowing down. So of course the wall penalties are going to be the one to watch out for here. No corner cutting, because you can't cut the corner, but you can graze the wall or hit the wall on the exit. That's where people are going to be getting their penalties. And again, another hit, so 3 hits on that lap, which has probably cost us north of half a second as we cross the line to go 16th. Really not much of an improvement. So we're going to come into the pits, put on another set of soft tyres. You can see the tyre wear on the top, on the front right, pretty bad at that point. Now we're going to come through here, going to come through towards our final flying lap, but you may have spotted on the right side of the screen, we've only got 2 seconds left to get to the line. 0 now. We've got 0 seconds, and then that is it. So actually, I missed the line by about 2 seconds, and I didn't get a chance to set a lap on fresh new tyres with the smallest amount of fuel in the car. So unfortunately, that middle lap was actually my best lap, which isn't a good news at all. So we're going to start 16th, which obviously is not a good result at all. May well have been top 6, which is, I suppose, fairly normal if I were to get 6th. But let's go then. 13 laps, 16th. And on a track like this, with such a close grid, it's time to get angry, I think, a bit aggressive. I think some aggression may well be needed. But also, you could say at the same time, let the other people get the penalties and make the most of that. So up behind Hyundai, and I was going to go for the pass there, just clip his rear quarter panel. So back out, I have to stay in 16th for now. So I couldn't imagine what this track would be like if we were to do a grid start. That would be absolute mayhem. So thankfully here, of course, the rolling start kind of spreads us out nicely. And already I'm 7 seconds off the lead. That just shows you how important qualifying is. If I were to qualify near the front, I would know where, I would not be 7 seconds away. It's hard enough trying to gain 7 seconds on the leader without having 15 people or 14 other people in the way before you get there, which is always just going to lose your time. So that really just, again, highlights the importance of qualifying. So this is the fast sweeping section. There's not really any space. I could get him on the exit as he's gone wide in. I've kind of pushed him on a little bit, although he's taken it nicely on the exit. And this is the final proper corner on the circuit. So we get through unscathed, near enough, but no positions gained. So here is the start-finish line. Over there onto lap number 2, and I kind of honestly didn't really mean to go for that move. I just braked where I thought was the right place, and the kind of gap opened up. It was a little bit forceful. I'm through up into 15th with a gap here to the Portuguese guy ahead. And I tried to slowly make our way and bridge that gap as we come down the hill. Okay, first person here has got a penalty, or the first person I've seen in this race to get a penalty, just there in 13th in the Viper. So sweeping left. Now this is where, this track is it's going to be a difficult one on tyre wear because it's very much all left-hand turns. There are a couple of right-handers, of course, but lots of very long lefts. So that front right is really going to struggle further into this race. Olympic style Jim there getting the penalty. He slows down. I go through up to 14th now. I've got a BMW very slow here. He was actually about 3rd or 4th on the grid. So I've gained another position as the Toyota up ahead, just recovering from a penalty as well, and just coming back to pace, back up to speed just before I get to him. Jaguar very wide. So okay, that lap wasn't too bad actually. Gained a couple of positions up to 12th now, as the 86 goes up the inside of the Aston Martin. A little bit forceful, but then again you have to be, and actually it kind of worked out okay. I'm looking around the outside into the right, and there is contact. I'm through, but it was a very, very forceful move, and kind of just shoving him aside to get up into the top 10. No penalty though, somehow. So officially, somehow, it's actually a clean move by the game standards. Gone a little bit wide, and that's going to put me on the back foot. Coming around this left onto this back straight. So I'm going to have to move to the left-hand side here as we have the BMW behind. And he is definitely in the slipstream. I don't think he's going to go for a move there. So back over to the racing line as normal. And there's that arrow on the right hand side of the screen, or of the wall, kind of turning in just as you get to that. Through the penalty zone, no penalty to report of at this point here, but a big gap forward to the Danish guy in 9th. Got to have a couple of clean laps with this BMW hot on my tails, less than 2 tenths behind. He's going to put the pressure on. You can see the lights, so you can almost tell when someone's right on you. You can see that you're being illuminated to a greater degree than you normally are. Okay, so it's going to be a split strategy in this race, of course, with an odd number of laps. So I'm guessing most people will be going in at the end of 6 or 7, as again we make another mistake. This is something that is going to become harder and harder as this race goes on. The front right is just going to start dying even more, and is going to suffer massively through the left-handers, of which there are many around this track. So that is something that you have to kind of adapt to as the race goes on. So it's almost like no lap is the same really. Each lap gets worse and worse in terms of the grip, and you have to kind of adapt. But it can be hard because you don't know exactly how much grip you've lost since the previous time you've gone around. And it's kind of something you kind of have to get used to and judge. So again, move to the left, the BMW on the right, he kind of backs off there and realises it's not really worth fighting around the outside. So I can take the normal racing line, we get through there just fine. Still a 2.5 second gap up ahead. Someone just serving a penalty. It's actually Quintin here. How slow? He's still going really slow. Are we going to go through? Yes, we are. And he's actually going to move to the left-hand side and block off the BMW. I suppose he had to pick a side. And unfortunately for the BMW, he got the wrong side. I got the correct side, which was the right side in this case. And that's actually opened up that gap you see there. As we just look behind, actually that gap's opened right up to 1.5 seconds now. So the car with the penalty actually doing us a massive favour there. So through turn 1, up to 8 at this point. So the race has actually been fairly good so far. Yes, some extremely forceful driving, which really probably should have been awarded with a penalty. But obviously I'm a master manipulator of the game, although it wasn't really deliberate at all. It was just the game should have given me a penalty, it just didn't. So into the tunnel, and just this left hand here looks innocuous enough, but it can actually be pretty tricky to get right with that front right now beginning to really get close to the end of its life. And this one here as well, I mean this one kind of really want to throw it in, and as you go over that crest the car just understeers slightly, and as a result into the wall. The BMW behind kind of following, but he has gained half a second on this lap. 2.9 seconds now to the Danish guy ahead, so over the course of the last couple of laps it's remained a fairly constant gap. This long left, very easy to go in too early. You have to wait for that very late apex. Braking just before, or just after, so the tarmac changes to the red colour into that final turn there. And we got through just fine. Coming down the hill, Melman, the German, into the pit lane. At the end of lap number 5, which is interesting. He's going to have to do an 8-lap stint in the second half of the race, or second portion of the race, which isn't going to be easy, or going for a second stop. The main benefit of that, though, I suppose, with this circuit is that the pit lane isn't that long, so you don't lose too much time. But I would suggest that the one-stop strategy is the one to go for. So for this long left, into 7th position at this point here. Remember, we started 16th, so progress has been made, we could say. And again, out of the tunnel, onto the back straight. Things are going well at this moment. Gaining actually on the Dane at the moment through this lap. Actually gained half a second so far. The leader, just looking at the map, the leader is driving really well. The Italian, he's good 5 seconds ahead of second. So he's doing very, very well at this point in a commanding position. It'll be interesting to see what tyre he's on. I've gone for the medium. So this race, there was a choice of 2 compounds. You could go soft or you can go medium. So of course we went for soft in qualifying. But you can see with the medium tyre, after 6 laps, the front right is like 80% dead. He'll be in the grave at some point very soon. So a soft tyre, you can't really do a one-stop race on soft tyre unless you are an absolute magician, which of course I am not. So a couple of guys going in at the end of 6, they've gone for the shorter stint to begin with, and some guys just coming out of the pit lane here, and it's kind of got a little bit awkward. I've gone into the back of him. I was thinking about going for the move, but it probably wasn't worth it because he's just pitted for fresh tyres. He's just going to come straight back at me with the fresh rubber. It wasn't really worth going for it. So currently residing in 6th place, and would you believe it? Well, of course, we're going to go into the pits at the end of this lap, and a really slow turn. Definitely losing a lot of time. The only benefit I'll have here, or the main benefit of pitting later, is that my tyres will be fresher for the whole second stint. So as the stint goes on, as the second stint goes on, the race will come slowly towards me as other people have more worn tyres. The time loss is now on this lap when other people have the fresh rubber. So we'll see how that one plays out. It may well work, it may well not. Although my lap times have been fairly consistent throughout the race, like 1 minute 19s once and a couple of 1 minute 20s. So the consistency has been there apart from this lap. This one is where I'm really suffering from that lack of grip. So through the second to last turn, or through the last turn, down the hill, we're going to move to the left hand side this time and go in for our one and only stop of the race. Here we go. So going on to the medium tyre, no need to refuel. That isn't a worry in this season. And eventually there we go, into our bay with the beautiful you just been passed by a girl livery, and away we go. Quintin and Maverick getting ahead. So I did go past these two guys during the first stint, so of course they've definitely gained time on me as Quintin goes very defensive into the tunnel against the Jaguar. So the Jaguar was, I think he was going wide out of the final turn at some point, lap 2 or something. So I'm back into 12th. So let's see how this one plays out. There were a couple of guys who went in on lap 5, so there may well be scope to pass them, as that was quite an early place to go for the stop. Okay, so Maverick with a poor run on the way out of the tunnel, so I'm going to go up into 11th. 0 time loss there, which is good. You don't want to lose too much time going past people. And it's very easy to lose time around this kind of track, of course, because it's so hard to overtake. So now, our next victim is Quintin, the Belgian. Raced him many times. Let's see if we can get onto the back of him and potentially start reeling in the group ahead. So just scanning the map, 1, 2, 3 and 4 are fairly evenly spaced. But then there's a group from 5th to 9th, which is just going down the hill now. And Quintin, which side is he going to go? He's going to go to the left, so I'm going to sweep to the right. Will I be able to get this move done over the line? I have to go fairly late, and I'm going to have to sweep across and just about get enough momentum on the way round and get the job done into 8th. So those two positions there, I was worried there because that could have been a lot of time loss. Actually getting the job done quite quickly. We're getting a flash from Quintin. I'm not sure exactly the message he's trying to send, but hopefully we can kind of work together here to try to catch up with the group ahead. Okay, so a couple of people have gone into the pits. I'm up into 8th all of a sudden, and the group ahead, I'm just scanning on the map, has actually split apart a little bit. Let's see if we can hunt them down. So 7th is going up the hill. We can see that position. 6th place is maybe a second or two ahead of him, so not too far, but it is still a fairly big gap. And actually there's a penalty. I could just see that. Jack 1882 going very slowly. Will I be able to go through him? I'm not going to take the risk and go round the could have come out of that ghost at any second there, at any point, and I could have gone slamming into the back of him. So going around, up into 7th now. This is a fairly good performance after a disappointing qualifying. That qualifying was really, really bad, and given the times I was doing in practice, I may well have been able to get up to maybe about 5th on the grid, which is higher than even where I am now. So it's a massive setback to have a bad qualifying session. Trying to fight through everyone, you lose a lot of time with fighting, you wear out your tyres more, and with all the battling, the defending, the attacking, you're just going to lose so much time. So of course it's much better to not bottle that qualifying session. It was a weird one with missing that, missing the final lap there by a couple of seconds, but that's the way it goes sometimes, I suppose. A little bit wide, grazing the wall, big group behind, again just scanning that map, trying to work out exactly what the hell is going on during this race, and there is a very big group behind. If I start making mistakes, then I am going to get murdered. Jack 1882, he's definitely gained on me, he's within 2 seconds, but he has a massive penalty, which is going to help. As we graze the wall once again. Okay, so he's slowing down, and this releases the BMW who was hunting us down earlier in the race to give us some grief with about 3 laps left to go. Open up the inside, he could go for that, although it isn't the best place to go for him really. They came in at this point in the race handling rather nicely. It's just the last couple of laps where things really begin to go downhill, and of course I've only have to do 6 laps in this stint, so it shouldn't be too bad. Just trying to break the toe as much as possible. It's going to be difficult though against this Polish guy in the BMW. He seems to be very quick, and he was qualifying up at the sharp end of the grid. Definitely has the speed. I have the track position, and it's not an easy track to get past around. Of course we have got some experience of this very recently with the Do Not Bottle It video at Nürburgring Nordschleife, where I managed to kind of block the guy off behind just by sticking to the racing line, not really making any mistakes, and the other guy couldn't really get past. And this is kind of a similar situation, although there are some fairly lengthy straights, long enough such that if they were to get a good run, get some slipstream and pull it out to the side, they could go past. And this is a potential opportunity, and again, similar to before, he goes for it but then backs out, realising that it's not really worth the risk. To be honest, I think he probably should have gone for it, tried to make something happen, and make me go narrow into the turn, because he let me take the normal racing line there, and it kind of gives me a better run to this back straight. And again, he's not quite able to go for it. You see him poking into the bottom of the screen multiple times. He's right on me, taking that turn rather nicely. Still scanning ahead at this point. The Dane up ahead is 2.8 seconds. It's been about the same gap throughout the entire race so far. As we come over to cross the line, lap number 12 of 13. 2 laps left to go at this point here. And I think we are slowly gaining on the Dane actually, if anything. I think that gap was above 3 seconds for a while. It's actually 2.4 now. Let's monitor that gap and see if it comes down. In this stint I've definitely lapped better. So lap 9, 10 and 11 all in the 1 minute 19s, and currently on for a personal best with the blue split. So let's see if I can actually improve upon my lap time here. So the first sector of this race, the first half of the race, up to lap 7, mostly in the 1 minute 20s, now in the 1 minute 19, so a little bit faster. So of course part of the reason of that is really that I'm in cleaner air now, and not fighting as many people so often, not having to defend. But the gap to the person ahead, 1.8, is coming down. On this lap it's come down by nearly a second. Let's see if we can gain any more. I'm a quarter of a second down at this point here, grazing the wall on the entry, and on the exit too. Final turn, can we set ourselves up nicely? Yes we can, for the last lap of the race. Gap below 1.8. Okay, can we gain on him any more? Maybe get within a second and begin to put some pressure on. The BMW behind, the gap falling or increasing for me. He's falling behind, now 1.3 seconds away as we fly through into the tunnel for the last time. So it was another 1 minute 19, so 4 laps in a row, 1 minute 19. So that's good consistency, and it's that kind of consistency which is going to show in a good result. So sweeping left, down to the right, very technical section this, and very easy to get one wrong. If you get the first one wrong, it normally lends itself to getting the rest of it wrong. So you really do have to nail that first corner in the sequence. And as we go over the crest, up towards the big uphill left-hander. 0.6 behind the Viper now. The pressure is definitely building as we have barely half a lap left to go. I'm firmly within that slipstream. Cayman not the best in the line, but when I'm getting sucked along, then it definitely is. Okay, a couple of corners left to go. Can I potentially force him into an error just by really getting as close as possible? The grip is really there, going a little bit too hot. Slipstream assisted mistake. And through the final turn, I'm going to get into that slipstream. Could we potentially get a run? It looks like I've definitely got the run as we go down the hill and come up to the line. And it's going to be, well, you guessed it, a 6th place after all of that. And 22 seconds off the lead. Potentially almost could have got 5th there. And, well, if I didn't bottle that qualifying, I may well have finished 5th. Possibly high, but then I might have bottled the race, you never know. But, well, after all that, a decent rise, 10 positions gained. And yes, I will say that some of the positions were very, very questionable, especially against that Aston Martin. But there is confirmation of the results. The leader with a 1:17.4, nearly 2 seconds faster than me. That was absolutely ridiculous lap time. So fair play to that guy. May well have been on soft tyre, not sure, but very well raced for him. Ultimately, 6th place as per usual, 10 positions gained. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, let me know your thoughts. I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.